Can they fucking sit? What the fuck are they showing? I'm so sick of them. I don't know what to do. The Committee on House Energy, Communications, and Technology will now come to order. Madam Clerk, will you please take attendance?
Chair Scott.
Present.
Representatives Andrews.
Here.
Whitsett. Neely.
Here.
Steckloff. Burns.
Here.
Churches.
Present.
Hill.
Here.
McDonald.
Present.
McFall.
Here.
Wenzel.
Here.
Outman.
Here.
Aragona.
Here.
Bagol.
Here.
Green.
Here.
Preston.
Yep.
Schmaltz. Madam Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Rep. Hill moves to adopt the minutes from the March 13th, 2024 meeting. Seeing no objections, the minutes are adopted. Okay, so today we're going to have presentations from many organizations in the energy industry regarding energy assistance. I'm going to call up first the Michigan Public Service Committee and Commission. We have about 9 presenters, so if everybody could keep their presentations pretty succinct to maybe about 3 minutes, that would be appreciated. Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning. You can introduce yourself and proceed. Thank you.
Absolutely. Chairman Scott, Vice Chairs Andrews and Wenzel, members of the committee. I am Marika Holly-Velker. I serve as the legislative liaison with the Michigan Public Service Commission. It's a privilege to be with you this morning to share with you a bit about the Michigan Energy Assistance Program, or MEAP. First, however, before I jump into that, I want to take just a moment to introduce 2 of my truly amazing colleagues who are with me today. Ann Armstrong, who is the director of our Customer Assistance Division, and Mary Wilkins, who works with Ann in the Customer Assistance Division. Mary is the low-income energy policy specialist for the commission. What you're going to see before you during my presentation today is very much a team effort, and certainly could not do anything without those 2, as I said, amazing ladies. Before I jump into the MEAP and how it works in the MPSC's role, I want to take just a second to orient us within the energy assistance ecosystem. This is a diagram of that system, including weatherization and energy waste reduction programs, which help customers lower their energy usage and their bills through helping to make their homes more energy efficient. Dictionary.com defines ecosystem as a complex network or interconnected system, and that's exactly what the energy assistance system is. It's both complex and interconnected. Understanding the MEAP space within that system is going to be important because without the broader context, you would only get an incomplete picture. So I want to spend some time this morning walking through that system. Our energy assistance programs are primarily funded through 2 types of funds: federal funds and ratepayer funds. Each of these funding types have different funding pots within them, and we're going to talk through the federal funds portion first and then the ratepayer funds. Looking first at the federal funds, there are 2 main pots of funding here. The first is grant funding from the Federal Department of Energy, which is administered by the Department of Health and Human Services for low-income weatherization services. These funds are administered by the department and used by community action agencies to offer weatherization programs for low-income households. The second and largest pot of federal money here is the Low-Income Home Energy Assistance Program, or LIHEAP. LIHEAP funds can be used for weatherization, crisis assistance, a home heating benefit, and for sufficiency services. These services are things that allow a household to move toward becoming self-sufficient and could include things like financial counseling and budgeting assistance. In Michigan, we use our LIHEAP dollars to fund 4 programs. First is LIHEAP weatherization. This portion of the LIHEAP dollars are also used by community action agencies to fund weatherization programs. The second is home heating. In Michigan's LIHEAP home heating program is the home heating credit. This is administered by Treasury through an interagency agreement with DHHS. To qualify for the home heating credit, customers must be at or below 110% of the federal poverty level, and they apply for the credit on their tax form. Everyone who applies and qualifies for the HHC receives the same assistance amount, and in fiscal 24, $56 million in LIHEAP is allocated to the home heating credit. The third program is state emergency relief. Now, SER as a program is bigger than just energy, but the energy assistance portion of SER is funded primarily through LIHEAP. To qualify for energy assistance through SER, a customer's household must be at or below 150% of the federal poverty level, and the customer must be in crisis, which is defined as having received a past due notice, or in the case of a propane customer, their propane tank being below 25%. SER is processed through DHHS, and in fiscal 24, $64 million in LIHEAP has been allocated to energy-related SER programs. Finally, federal LIHEAP dollars also fund what's called Assurance 16 self-sufficiency services. The Assurance 16 funds approximately $5 million in 2024 are administered through an interagency agreement between DHHS and the Public Service Commission. We grant those dollars to the MEAP grantees to fund their self-sufficiency work. Now I want to move to ratepayer funds, and we're going to start on the outside and we're going to work our way in. So first, we have utility-based energy waste reduction programs. Utilities have, for the last several years, been required to meet energy waste reduction targets to help reduce energy waste, and through those programs, we've reduced consumption sufficient to offset the need for 2 large natural gas facilities. A portion of these programs are used to fund energy waste reduction programs for low-income customers. The 2023 energy laws require that by the end of 2028, 25% of an electric provider's energy waste reduction program and 35% of a natural gas utility's energy waste reduction program be directed to the low-income EWR programs. To qualify for utility low-income EWR programs, customers must be at or below 250% of the federal poverty level. And in fiscal 22, utilities spent more than $101 million on low-income energy waste reduction programs. Moving to the left, we have utility-based credits. These credits are specific to rate-regulated utilities, and 11 of Michigan's rate-regulated electric and natural gas utilities offer some form of a utility credit. 11 utilities offer the Residential Income Assistance Credit, or RIA, which typically provides a bill credit equal to the monthly service charge, so you can ballpark that somewhere between $8 and $11 a month. The Low Income Energy Assistance Credit, or LIA, is offered by 6 utilities, DTE and Consumers Electric and Gas, SEMCO, and MGU, and these offer a credit of between $30 and $40 a month. To qualify for these credits, customers must be at or below 150% of the federal poverty level or participate in Medicaid or SNAP. The utility credits are valued at approximately $76 million annually. Finally, moving one more to the left, we have our last funding pot. It's the Low Income Energy Assistance Fund, or LIHEAP, which is administered by the MPSC. The LIHEAP funds the Michigan Energy Assistance Program, or MEAP, which is administered by the Commission via an interagency agreement with DHHS. Funds for the MEAP program are distributed via a grant to our 9 MEAP grantee human service agencies. The LIHEAP is capped at $50 million annually. Now, I've thrown a lot of income levels around, and I want to give us all some context of what things like 150% FPL or 200% FPL actually mean. So the federal poverty level is updated annually, and the table above represents the FPL levels for 2024. And this is just to help contextualize what we mean when we say that a household is at a certain poverty level as we talk about these programs. Now that we have kind of the layout of the broad context in which the MEAP operates, let's talk about how the MEAP operates. The first part of the how is the funding. The Michigan Energy Assistance Program is funded through the Low Income Energy Assistance Fund, or the LIHEAP. That's LIHEAP with an E and an F, not LIHEAP with a H and a P. The LIHEAP was established in Public Act 95 of 2013, and you can find it in MCL 460.9. So this was established and provides for an annual non-bypassable surcharge of up to $1 a month on each customer meter of participating electric utilities. And this is calculated to collect no more than $50 million. The law also allows electric utilities to opt out of collecting the surcharge, but if they do opt out, they cannot shut customers off for non-payment from November 1st through April 15th. And I do want to note here once again that the LIHEAP is exclusively used to fund the Michigan Energy Assistance Program. So sometimes you might hear somebody talk about LIHEAP funds or MEAP funds. Those are the same funds. To establish the LIHEAP surcharge, the Commission issues 3 orders that have to be issued before July 31st every year. The first order directs all electric utilities to indicate whether they are opting in or opting out of collecting the surcharge. For a utility that opts in, They indicate the total number of meters in their service territory, but I do want to note here that only 1 meter per customer is counted. So if you have a meter on your home and your garage, you're only going to pay that surcharge once. It's not going to be charged on both meters. Order number 2 is where the commission puts the proposed surcharge out for comment. To establish the proposed surcharge, the commission staff do the math. They're going to add up all of the meter numbers that are submitted by participating utilities, and we're going to multiply that by 12. And then they're going to divide that $50 million cap by whatever the number is. Now, there's a couple of caveats here that I want to flag for you. First, any remaining fund balance from the prior year carries over and is deducted from that $50 million that could be collected. And second, any funds that are appropriated by the legislature to the LIEF are also deducted from that $50 million cap. So to illustrate, let's say we have 50 million meters that are going to participate in MEAP. We're going to multiply 50 million by 12, and that's 60 million. I'm not doing this off the top of my head. I used a calculator last night. So we've got 60 million that we're going to use as our number, and we're going to divide $50 million by 60 million surcharge payments. And that's going to get you about 83 cents. Easy enough. But let's say there was a $2 million balance in the fund that rolled over from the prior year. In that instance, we're going to start by taking away $2 million from that $50 million fund. So that's going to get us a $48 million fund on which we're going to base that surcharge. So we're going to divide $48 million by the $60 million, and that's going to get us a surcharge of 80 cents. Now, if there was an appropriation to the fund, it would have the same effect as a rollover balance. Once the proposed surcharge is determined and put into that second order, it's going to be put out for comment prior to the issuance of order number 3, which will adopt and establish the surcharge. That's all done, as I mentioned, by July 31st each year. And once the surcharge is adopted, the utilities make the adjustments necessary in their billing systems, and the new surcharge goes into effect in October. Currently, the LIEF surcharge is set at 88 cents. Now that we know how the program's funded, let's talk about the program. The Michigan Energy Assistance Act was adopted in 2012 with broad bipartisan support. Public Act 615 establishes the MEAP and directs DHHS to distribute the funds to eligible low-income households for energy assistance. The adoption of the MEAP addressed a lot of challenges that were inherent to the systems as they existed at that time, and the legislature eliminated the sunset on the MEAP program last summer. MEAP assistance is available to customers who are at or below 150% of federal poverty and must include services that will enable participants to become or move toward becoming self-sufficient. This includes assisting participants in paying their energy bills on time, assisting them in budgeting for and contributing toward their ability to provide for their energy expenses, and assisting participants in utilizing energy services to optimize on energy efficiency. Pursuant to boilerplate, MPSC and DHHS have an interagency agreement under which the MPSC administers the MEAP program. And that's where we're going to turn next. Public Act 615 allows us to contract with outside entities to deliver MEAP assistance. So each year we put out a request for proposals seeking partners to deliver this assistance to residents in need of help. The entities awarded funding to implement the MEAP program are referred to as MEAP grantees. For 2024, 9 community service organizations were awarded MEAP grants, and several of them are here today, and I'm really excited that you're going to get to have the chance to hear from them about the incredible work that they're doing to help Michigan's most vulnerable residents. The grantees are subject to regular auditing, which is undertaken by the talented team within the Commission's MEAP section. Now, at the Commission, we have an enormous amount of respect and gratitude for the work that the MEAP grantees do. And I'm not just saying that because I'm here in front of you and several of them are sitting behind me. They do amazing work, and they work really hard to help find the resources for Michiganders who need them. And what they do is hard. And we know that challenges do have and will come up, and we believe that communication is key to making sure that those challenges are able to be addressed. So to encourage communication and promote collaboration, we hold monthly MEAP workgroup meetings with the MEAP grantees, MEAP section staff, DHHS staff, and the utilities. These meetings have been going on for longer than I've been at the Commission, which is going on 7 years now. And during COVID was moved to a virtual platform. Our team and the MEAP grantees didn't miss a beat. Now, with only 9 MEAP grantees in 83 counties in Michigan, it would be really easy to think that MEAP is a geographically limited program, and that is just not the case. I've included in the folders provided for you this morning a copy of our 2023 MEAP report. Starting on page 7 of that report is a breakdown of MEAP assistance received by county, and residents of every single county throughout the state of Michigan have received assistance through the MEAP program. This program touches every corner of our state. Not only does the program reach every area of our state, it helps all types of customers. As I mentioned earlier, the LIEF is funded through a surcharge on electric meters. Now, there are a lot of ways the program could have been funded, but the non-bypassable surcharge meant that as long as the electric utilities participate, you have statewide funding for a statewide program that provides assistance for all types of energy and home heating usage. Currently, MEAP assistance, or certainly MEAP assistance helps with energy bills, but it also helps with natural gas bills, with propane bills, and importantly, with other deliverable home heating fuels like wood and fuel oil. I've also been told that our auditors have seen assistance payments for pellets, corn for corn burners, and apparently even for cherry pits. I also want to point out one really important thing here. We mentioned earlier that an electric utility that opts out is not allowed to shut off customers for non-payment between November 1st and April 15th. Customers of opt-out utilities are still able to access help through state emergency relief and through MEAP for their home heating bill, natural gas or propane, and they are able to access both for help with their electric bill outside of the crisis season. We've spent a lot of time talking about the energy assistance ecosystem, the LIEF, and the MEAP. So in my last couple of minutes, I want to talk about how a customer actually accesses the assistance programs that they need. For customers struggling with affordability, Michigan has many referral points, with 211 being the primary, but there are limited actual on-ramps or doors through which to apply for assistance. A customer may fill out a tax form to apply for heating assistance between January and September. A customer may apply to DHHS after receiving a past due notice on their energy utility or having a need for deliverable fuel. Applications to DHHS may be submitted by mail, online, or through someone trained as a MyBridges navigator. Now, the MEAP agencies and some of the utilities have trained navigators, as do a variety of other service organizations. Once a customer has a determination that they're eligible for SER from DHHS, they may receive additional assistance as needed from the MEAP program, or they can apply for an affordable payment plan. Low-income and residential income assistance credits are routinely applied by participating utilities after a utility notes the receipt of a home heating credit or SER on the customer's account. In some cases, a customer will self-attest to the qualification and be able to receive the credits. When we think about the assistance ecosystem and the paths through which customers can get help, the two programs that can provide the greatest amount of assistance, SER and MEAP, are entirely dependent on the customer having that past due notice, which, when you think about it, is kind of contrary to the whole idea of self-sufficiency for any customer that might be on a fixed low income. They need ongoing help, but are required to fall behind on their bill before they can access that help. Now, in addition to the MEAP work group, the Commission has established an Energy Affordability and Accessibility Collaborative, the Low Income Energy Waste Reduction Work Group, and the Low Income Energy Policy Board, all of which are exploring and working on issues related to identifying opportunities for improving the space for Michigan's most vulnerable residents. As we've worked through these efforts, the dozens, and in some cases hundreds, of folks who are working through these issues with us have identified a number of challenges within this energy assistance ecosystem. Some of these challenges include things like the orientation of the system toward addressing crisis, which requires going into crisis despite stated goals of encouraging self-sufficiency. A lack of effective coordination between programs that creates unnecessary barriers for customers and administrative burden for frontline staff. And I want to be clear here that I'm speaking specifically to the programs. A customer may receive one service, like SER. They might receive all services. They might receive one or two services. Now, there's no mechanism within this to prioritize and coordinate those services for customers who are most vulnerable or most at risk. Additionally, an applicant for SER might receive that help, but then would typically need to go to a MEAP grantee. And once at a MEAP grantee, they might be referred somewhere else for weatherization services, which, again, puts some coordination burden on the customers. Lack of coordination between funding streams creates inefficiencies in the delivery of assistance and may not result in funds helping those who are most in need. And of course, the last one, and I know you guys hear a lot about this, is funding. On the funding piece, I want to flag something that I think is really important. So earlier when I was showing that graphic of the energy assistance ecosystem, I shared the funding amounts for the programs that make up that system. And for fiscal 24, Michigan received $160 million in federal LIHEAP dollars. And that's a lot of money. But that is $253 million below the LIHEAP levels we were receiving during the COVID-19 pandemic. So we've lost $253 million out of the system, and that would probably be okay if we were seeing pre-pandemic levels of applications for assistance, but we're not. Application levels remain at their pandemic level highs or very close to it, and that's putting tremendous strain not only on the system, but more importantly, on our customers. But with challenge comes opportunity, and we believe there's real opportunity to improve the ecosystem for our most vulnerable residents by addressing these challenges. And I hope that we're able to have that conversation in the near future. For now, I just want to say thank you once again for allowing me to share with you all this morning. I'm certainly more than happy to answer any questions that you all might have, and we'll be even more happy to step out of the way and spend time with all of you, hearing from the amazing organizations who work with our most vulnerable customers to help them get the assistance they need. Thank you so much, and Madam Chair, I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you. I'm going to ask that we held the questions to the end because we have so many presenters and we only have so much time. But thank you so very much for that presentation. Appreciate it. I'd like to call up next Angie Sterner from the chair of the Coalition to Keep Michigan Warm, Dr. Darlene Driver Hudson, president and CEO of United Way of Southeastern Michigan, and Saunteel Jenkins, CEO of the Heat and Warmth Fund, and Tonya Swenor, Energy and Climate Program Manager with Superior Watershed Partnership. If you could all come forward, please. I appreciate it. Welcome. Thank you for being here today. And you can individually introduce yourselves again and proceed with your presentations. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, Madam Chair and committee members. My name is Angie Sterner, and I am the chair of the Coalition to Keep Michigan Warm. So beginning in 1987, the Coalition began its advocacy for vulnerable Michiganders. Our members include educators, consumer groups, utilities, nonprofits, utilities, government, and we advocate, network, support our efforts to increase energy security for our most vulnerable households. The Coalition recognizes the need, the ever-growing need for additional funding to ensure our seniors and our families have the resources available to them in their times of crisis. I'm also here today as in another capacity. I'm the director of the Energy Assistance Services at the Salvation Army. We receive MEAP funding. And we have witnessed increases, especially these last couple of years. It's a family that would normally be able to take care of their own household needs, but they've had a home repair or a vehicle repair or a medical expense come up, and so they've had to rely on coming to us for their energy crisis. Or it's a senior that is living on a fixed income that's been impacted by the increase of, well, everything, right? They are making difficult choices between their property taxes or filling their propane tanks. Our agency and many others that will testify today. Our MEAP funding has been exhausted earlier in FY22 and FY23 than in previous years. So MEAP agencies, we not only aim to resolve the immediate crisis, but we also focus on how we can help families move forward to becoming more energy secure by providing additional supportive services. These services include things like reducing their energy consumption, providing referrals to weatherization services, or energy optimization programs. We help them with budgeting and assisting with other household needs that they may have. internally if we have those resources, or we make referrals to agencies that we don't have in-house. We provide long-term case management to support households in reaching their energy goals and also any other self-identified goals that they may have. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you. Go ahead. Okay. Yes.
Good morning, Chair Scott, Majority Vice Chair Andrews, Minority Vice Chair Wenzel, and members of the committee. My name is Dr. Darienne Hudson, and I am the President and CEO of the United Way for Southeastern Michigan, and I'm joined by a number of team members today, including Sean Skane, our Director of Utility Services. I thank you for the opportunity to speak with you about the Michigan Energy Assistance Program. Our United Way is an impact-focused, community-based working nonprofit that's working in our community to provide programs and resources that move struggling households in Macomb, Oakland, Washtenaw, and Wayne counties from crisis to stability and from stability to prosperity. Our organization serves as one of the administrators for the Michigan Energy Assistance Program. In this role, not only do we help residents access financial support for utility bills, but we use the opportunity to connect them with a wide range of services to help them move forward towards financial stability. I'm here to tell you today that at United Way, we know firsthand how great the need is for this program in our community. The ALICE report, produced by the Michigan Association of United Ways, measures the cost of a basic, no-frills household monthly budget and compares that with what individuals are actually earning. The study shows us that 39% of our households in Michigan cannot afford their most basic needs, including utilities. It also shows us that in many communities across Michigan, a household must earn well above 200% of the federal poverty level in order to cover the cost of these basic expenses. Currently, the Michigan Energy Assistance Program is only available to those making 150% above the federal poverty level or less, and this leaves a significant number of families unable to afford their utilities and eligible to access this crucial service. As a point of information, the United Way for Southeastern Michigan also operates the 211 call center that is serving Oakland, Macomb, Washtenaw, Wayne, and Lapeer counties. We are one of 2 local United Ways that operates a 211 call center. In our service area in 2023 alone, utility payment assistance was the most requested service, with more than 40,000 requests. Unfortunately, this was also the most unmet need in 2023, with nearly 1,000 households reaching out for support, but not being able to be eligible for the program. And our MEAP program services about 10,000 of these calls every year. Our MEAP team members and community care advocates are taking these calls every day, hearing the anxieties, worries, and exhaustion of our families who are desperate to find assistance, only to learn that they just earn a few too many dollars to qualify. But eligibility is not the only barrier that we're facing. Currently, MEAP is not sufficiently resourced to meet demand. While the program runs through October, our funding is often fully committed to applicants by May or June. While it's naturally to think that wintertime is the highest time of demand for utility assistance, last year, May was actually our busiest month because we were one of the only agencies in the state that was still enrolling people as most other grantees' fundings had run out. By June 2023, we had to pause enrollments ourselves, even though significant need remained. For these reasons, the United Way for Southeastern Michigan strongly encourages that additional funding be invested into MEAP and that the income eligibility level be raised to better reflect the ALICE survivability threshold, giving more of our struggling households the support they need to make ends meet. No family should have to choose between whether they pay rent, put food on the table, or keep their heat on. And MEAP is an important tool that we have to provide essential support in a household's time of need. We appreciate your continued work to ensure that all of our families in our state are able to meet their most basic needs. And I thank you again for the opportunity to share this information with you today and for your service and commitment to the betterment of our state. And I'm happy to answer questions at the end. Thank you very much.
Good morning, Chairwoman Scott. Good morning, committee members. Thank you all for having us here today. My name is Saunteel Jenkins, and I am the CEO for the Heat and Warmth Fund, also known as THAW. THAW was founded in 1985 to provide utility assistance to struggling families across the state of Michigan. We serve all 83 counties in Michigan. Last year we served 69 of the 83 counties in Michigan. And we provide assistance with electricity, heating in the forms of gas, in the forms of gas, propane, wood. My favorite is actually cherry pits. And we also provide water assistance. Many of the families that we serve are making a choice between water or heat and electricity, or food and water and heat and electricity. So THAW also supports increasing the income eligibility requirements, and we support increasing the dollars. Since pre-pandemic, our pre-pandemic numbers, I apologize, we've had a 59% increase in the number of applications across all of our programs since before the pandemic, 59%. Our denial rate is about 49%, and many of those families are being denied because they are a couple of dollars over the eligibility requirements. I'm really happy that Dr. Hudson spoke before me so that she could talk to you about the ALICE population and who ALICE is, because I'm also here representing the ALICE population, because ALICE raised me. My parents were ALICE. My dad was a mailman. I've lived in a house with no heat, with no electricity, because when my dad was injured on the job, he slipped on ice, going up steps on a porch, and his disability check could not cover the payments that my parents were already struggling to keep up on. So it's so important. There are mailmen out there right now serving us, delivering our mail. There are bus drivers. There are folks working in hospitals every day serving this community, but they can't make ends meet, and they have no safety net because they make $10, $20, $100 over the federal poverty level of 150%. So making sure that we're capturing and providing that safety net for many who are working every day doing what they can as parents to take care of their families, but they just don't meet the income eligibility. So I'm here representing THAW, and I'm here representing those families, those kids tonight who might be going to bed in the dark or in the cold, because although their parents work hard every day, they just don't make enough. So thank you all for allowing us to speak today, and thank you for the work you do every day.
Thank you. Thank you for your testimony. Next.
And the committee. My name is Tonya Swenor. I am the Energy and Program Manager for the Superior Watershed Partnership. SWP is a nonprofit organization based in Marquette, Michigan, and we serve UP communities through a range of initiatives, including water quality, pollution prevention, as well as energy conservation and heating assistance. In my role with the SWP, I oversee our Michigan Energy Assistance Program grant and several other energy-related programs. I am here today along with other MEAP grantees and members of the Coalition to Keep Michigan Warm to share my experience providing support to vulnerable families across the UP and to raise awareness to the ever-present and growing need for energy assistance. The SWP is one of 9 MEAP grantees and has worked with MEAP since the program was created in 2013. In our role as MEAP grantee, the SWP team helped over 9,000 low-income families, mostly in the Upper Peninsula, providing them with energy assistance and wraparound services, including energy education, weatherization, and, so the energy assistance, it can be particularly essential in the Upper Peninsula as UPers pay comparatively high electric rates, rely more heavily on delivered fuels like propane or fuel oil, face higher home heating demand due to harsh winters, and the fact that the housing stock is older and typically less energy efficient. While we believe that MEAP has been and continues to be an important tool for addressing energy need, for vulnerable families, it has become increasingly clear that the need for energy assistance is not limited to households with incomes below the existing eligibility threshold of 150% federal poverty level. Throughout the years, we've received many calls from households that were not eligible for MEAP and were struggling to find ways to pay their bills. In some cases, these households were right on the line for being eligible, but were denied service because of the current rules governing MEAP. Understanding that 39% of Michigan population resides within the ALICE population, we know that the need for assistance isn't limited to those households living at or near the poverty level. Due to this reality and the unique energy factors facing UP families, SWP began seeking grant opportunities to help this population. In early 2023, the SWP submitted a proposal for a 2-year grant to provide ALICE households with utility bill assistance. In late 2023, the SWP received a My Impact grant through the Michigan Department of Labor and Economic Opportunity. We opened the program to customers in late January of this year, and SWP has already served 150 grateful Michigan families. One of the families we were able to serve included a caseworker from another assistance agency that was struggling to make ends meet for her family. She told us that she was so relieved to find help. She mentioned that her time is spent connecting clients to resources, and while she doesn't begrudge them their needs, it was hard sometimes to face not knowing if her family may have heat when she got home. Knowing that the resources available for a family like hers were limited to non-existent. Being able to receive the support that she spends all day giving her community meant that she could show up more fully for her clients, her community, and her family. To date, 72% of the households SWP has served through the My Impact grant for energy assistance has been at or below the 200% federal poverty level. The households we have been able to serve through this program that would otherwise have not been able to qualify for assistance reinforces our belief that there is a greater need for energy assistance than MEAP can serve today. Although we are grateful to have a temporary program to support ALICE households, SWP believes that MEAP should be expanded to better meet the needs of Michigan and UP families facing energy security. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you. Thank you so much for this important presentation. I appreciate it, and the personal stories. Thank you. Next, I'm going to call up Sitara Govender, the Interim Executive Director of Green and Healthy Homes with the Wayne Metropolitan Community Action Agency, Marissa Boerman, Empower Division Director, True North Community Services, and Wende Randall, Director of the Kent County Essential Needs Task Force. If you can come forward and introduce yourselves. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Sitara Govender, and I'm the Executive Director for Green and Healthy Homes at Wayne Metropolitan Community Action Agency. Thank you to the Chair and committee members for allowing testimony today on these important issues. Wayne Metro empowers individuals and communities to be strong, healthy, and thriving. Utility assistance and weatherization play a critical role in this mission, lending a helping hand to people in crisis and providing a foundation for long-term personal growth. Those who testified before already covered the critical importance of MEAP. Your constituents and Wayne Metro's clients need utility assistance, so expanding MEAP is critical. However, it will take more than utility assistance to help Michiganders who are in need. Weatherization assistance reduces energy costs for low-income households by providing basic home improvements like insulation and air sealing. This work is critical in a state like ours with an aging housing stock and cold winters. It's not enough to simply pay utility bills, we must also permanently lower them. The Coalition to Keep Michigan Warm put forward a $30 million budget proposal for pre-weatherization funding. State pre-weatherization support will make the federally funded weatherization program work more efficiently for more Michiganders. Homes with basic repair needs cannot be weatherized. For every one house that Wayne Metro weatherizes, our energy auditors need to audit 4 homes to find one that is eligible. A similar ratio exists for weatherization providers across the state. Without pre-weatherization funding, these homes are deferred from weatherization due to basic repair needs, like patching up a roof or replacing aging electrical wiring. If your energy burden is high, it's very unlikely that you'll be able to afford to repair your roof. Mr. Langdon, a resident in Detroit's Brightmoor neighborhood, experienced this challenge firsthand. Mr. Langdon had an inefficient home with high energy bills stretching an already thin budget. During our home assessment, we learned that a water leak in his roof was dripping into electrical receptacles in his home, risking a serious fire. Now you can imagine the constant fear of your house catching on fire started to impact his mental health. Luckily, Mr. Langdon doesn't have to experience this anymore. With the help of pre-weatherization funding, we were actually able to repair his roof, replace outdated and damaged wiring, and we were able to weatherize his home and lower his energy bills. Without pre-weatherization funding, Mr. Langdon wouldn't have gotten the assistance he desperately needed. There's one more thing the state can do to lower utility bills and increase energy efficiency. To continue to improve Michigan's aging housing stock, we need new and ongoing sources of pre-weatherization money. Every year, the state submits an application for the Low Income Home Energy Assistance Program, or LAHEAP, which is a federal block grant. The federal government allows up to 15% of the state's total LAHEAP block grant to be set aside for weatherization assistance. However, Michigan does not maximize this set aside, only using 3% in fiscal year 2022 and 10% in fiscal year 2024. Now, I would hate to sit before this committee and claim that Ohio is doing something better than Michigan, but they actually might be onto something by maximizing their LAHEAP set aside at 15%. Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Pennsylvania, too, all maximize their LAHEAP set-asides. Michigan should join these other states in making a better long-term decision for our residents by focusing the maximum allowable portion of federal funding on weatherization. Rising utility costs are a serious challenge in communities across the state, but we know what the solution is. MEAP reform and expansion will help deal with acute crises. At the same time, more weatherization funding will help community action agencies across the state attack the root cause of high utility bills and get our clients and your constituents on a path to long-term sustainability. Thank you again for allowing me to testify today. I hope to have your support on these important issues, and at the end, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Good morning, Chair Scott and committee members. I am Marissa Boerman, and I am the Director of Heat and Energy Assistance Programs at True North Community Services. True North is a MEAP grantee based in rural Newaygo County, but we do serve the entire state of Michigan with heat and energy assistance. But really, at the end of the day, the heart of our organization is serving our rural neighbors in the communities of Michigan. I, too, am from a small rural farming town in southwest Michigan, so I understand the realities of living in rural areas. There is a sense of isolation and being far from the resources and from simple things like grocery stores. And transportation is necessary, but very expensive a lot of times for our for a lot of people, but specifically for our folks who are near poverty. And connecting to the resources in the larger communities is more challenging for these households. Additionally, housing stock that's available in rural communities and that is affordable for folks are either mobile homes or older farm homes that are not energy efficient, and this really drives up the energy costs for our rural neighbors. Most of these households have to heat with propane or wood, and propane is very expensive and is one expense at one time that is really unmanageable for a lot of our households. And wood, too, is a very difficult to access and is a lot of work intensity, and it really just is not a reality for our elderly or disabled folks living in rural communities. Obviously, the need looks different in rural communities than in urban environments, but it is still there, oftentimes maybe overseen or overlooked, but it is a reality for many of our neighbors in the rural communities. Similarly, I am from West Michigan, and the beach towns and the great places along the lake shore are where we think a lot of affluent folks live, and it's where we go and flock to in the summer to enjoy the lake shore. I grew up near Saugatuck in Holland, and I have the privilege now of living in Grand Haven. And you don't have to go far from the lake to find households that are struggling to make ends meet. These households are the folks that we rely on to make our experience in those lakeshore communities what we want them to be. The servers at the restaurants, the folks that are cleaning the Airbnbs that we are staying at before we show up. And with Michigan having a large tourism industry in those great towns, there are folks that are struggling in the communities that we also tend to overlook, but it is reality. So additionally to the serving those populations and helping them get the crisis assistance that they need, we do self-sufficiency services at True North Community Services. These are wraparound services that really offer holistic care to the participant. And we look at not only their energy need, but what the household needs in order to not need the assistance going forward and long term. We have two modes of self-sufficiency services, which we call complex care, which are in-home intensive services where we work with the household. And we also have supportive self-sufficiency, which is more of a digital format where we work with households over the phone, through emails and text messages. Each household that comes to us, which is about 10,000, have a person that they can contact at True North that will help them navigate resources that we might have at the agency to help them or within their community. It's very important that these are relationship-based. This builds trust with the participant, and a lot of times these households have lack of personal supports, and so we are there to help them navigate that. Our goal in all of this is to put ourselves out of jobs and make sure that those participants are not needing to come back to us in the future and that we can invest in them early on and help them with that need so that they can go on and live thriving lives. To wrap up, I'd like to share one story about a participant who did just that. We had a family that came to us, a family of 5, a mom, dad, and 3 children under about the age of 10, and they lived in rural northern Montcalm County. Dad was employed and mom stayed home with the kids because it didn't make sense for her to go to work due to daycare costs. Dad was struggling with his mental health and eventually lost his battle with mental health. And in the process of his death, the only family car was totaled. And so this mom was left with 3 children to raise, to support, and she had no job, no car, and not to even mention the grief of the loss of her spouse. And like I said earlier, in the rural communities, transportation is so important to get to employment and resources. So this family was referred to us by our partners at Corewell Health, and we were able to connect them to the utility assistance that they needed that was emergent, and then continue to work with the household. With the support of her advisor, the mom was able to get a car through a car ministry program in Greenville, secure a full-time job and daycare support for her kids, and now the household is thriving. Mom has even taken on college courses during the evenings when her kids are in bed to enhance her employment opportunities and her earning potential so that she can continue to support her family. This all started with a need for utility assistance, but really the investment of self-sufficiency services has set this family up for a long-term success and to thrive for the long-term future. So again, thank you so much for the opportunity to talk to you today, and I look forward to answering any questions you might have later.
Good morning. My name is Wende Randall. I'm Executive Director of the Kent County Essential Needs Task Force and Secretary for the Coalition to Keep Michigan Warm. Thank you, Chair Scott, Vice Chair Andrews, and Vice Chair Wenzel, and committee members for the opportunity to speak to the importance of energy assistance across Michigan and in particular communities in West Michigan. Kent County Essential Needs Task Force uses a convening structure to bring together over 120 organizational partners toward the goal of all residents of our county having equitable access to resources to meet their current and emerging needs. We build relationships, foster understanding across the community, reject biased assumptions, and work for policy and process change across 5 system areas. While my primary area of focus is Kent County, I work closely with organizations throughout West Michigan to understand the situations of residents and work toward shared strategies for supporting those individuals and families. Each month, our local 211 call center receives hundreds of calls requesting information and referral for utility payment assistance. Existing assistance programs like State Emergency Relief and the Michigan Energy Assistance Program are vital to our ability to connect these households with the assistance they need. And still, we consistently see a significant portion of households go without support, primarily due to being just over the eligibility threshold. You may have heard the term energy burden. This is a general concept that household energy costs should not exceed a certain percentage of the household income. Though there is no broadly agreed upon percentage at this point, many experts estimate the energy burden should be no more than 6% of the household income. Despite being ineligible for assistance, we know that many of these households are facing an energy burden that is simply unaffordable. We are seeing more and more households fall into this situation where they don't qualify for support under existing programs, as wages are not keeping pace with rising costs of household budgets. Our neighbors who are working hard to gain or maintain financial stability are often unable to make ends meet. In Kent County, in the month of March, we saw 16% of those households calling for energy payment assistance go without assistance because their needs did not align with the available funding. And we know the need is even greater in other areas of the state. This problem touches every corner of Michigan. Recognizing that energy burden is an important factor in the health outcomes of our residents, we at the Kent County Essential Needs Task Force want to recognize the important role MEAP has played over the past decade in helping Michigan households. Like my colleagues here today, we also encourage policymakers to build on the success by increasing the amount of funding to accommodate the growing need for payment assistance, simplifying the program administration to maximize the impact of resources, and broadening MEAP's eligibility to include more vulnerable Michigan households. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your presentation and the personal story. Thank you. Next, I'm going to call up Brian Lewis, who is the Executive Director of Customer Operations at Consumers Energy. You may take your full time for your presentation.
I know we're up against it, so I will be as brief as I can be. But good morning, and thank you, Chair Scott, Vice Chair Andrews, and Wenzel, and committee members for the opportunity to testify before you today about the vital role that energy assistance plays in meeting the critical needs of Michigan families. My name is Brian Lewis. I'm the Executive Director of Customer Operations at Consumers Energy, and I think you know us. We provide natural gas and electric service for 7 million residents, including 9 out of the 10 counties within the state with the highest levels of poverty. I've worked at Consumers Energy for 11 years now, serving in a variety of customer-centric roles. Caring for customers is something that both myself and my team take very seriously. And I'd like to give a shout out to my energy assistance team as well as our agency partners and thank them for their tireless advocacy towards those in need. Now, commitment to care, especially to those in need, is not new to me. It's an essential theme in both my personal and work life. It started a very long time ago when I was a combat medic in the U.S. Army, and it's continued through 24 years of customer-facing roles I've held in my professional career ever since. For the past 5 years, I've overseen the company's energy assistance team, which works to deliver energy assistance offerings to our customers through federal LIHEAP funding, our MEAP-funded affordable payment plan, which we refer to as CARE, and other streams of support, which you've heard about today. During this time, I've gained tremendous respect from my coworkers, and again, our agency partners, for their tireless work to help Michiganders in need. But it's important to note that more customers need support than are currently being served. In 2023, close to 150,000 Consumers Energy customers received energy assistance either through LIHEAP, the state's MEAP program, or through $25 million in supplemental funding provided by Consumers Energy. But that's not enough. The U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, which oversees LIHEAP nationally, estimates that only 30% of Michigan households in need receive the care that they need. That would mean 450,000 households are in need, where in 2023 we were only able to serve 150,000. So current funding is not sufficient based on existing eligibility levels, but beyond that, and as you've heard this morning, far too many customers make just too much to qualify for traditional assistance, but they need support as well. Some moderate income customers are one unexpected expense away from significant need, and we must work collectively to support them as well. Other groups have already testified this morning about the importance of MEAP and how the program has fundamentally shifted the delivery of energy assistance for Michigan households, so I won't take any more of your time on these points this morning, but I do want to express Consumers Energy's continued support for MEAP and our belief that the past 10 years of administering this funding has demonstrated the success of the program while illustrating opportunities to fine-tune MEAP to better serve customers for years into the future. In closing, I'd like to reiterate my appreciation, Chair Scott, and to the committee for allowing me to speak and help the critical needs of energy assistance. So clearly, we've deferred questions. I'm happy to talk about Consumers Energy's program, or if we want to call other members back up for questions, we can do that as well.
Happy to do that. I'm going to open it up to questions. Do we have any questions from members? No questions? Well, I guess you guys did an outstanding job on explaining everything to us, so we appreciate it. Thank you so much for your presentation today. All right. All right, I'm going to excuse Representative Samantha Steckloff today. I need a motion from Rep. Neely to excuse Representative Steckloff. All right. With there being no further business before the Energy, Communications, and Technology Committee, we stand adjourned. Thank you.